Hi, this is Michael Baran. I am here really excited to be with you on this Facebook Live for HundrED. I am a cultural anthropologist, so I study how people think about the world and how culture affects how people think, how they act. I especially focus on how people think about categories of identity, like race, ethnicity, religion, nationality, things like that. So I'm a cultural anthropologist. I'm also a diversity, inclusion, equity practitioner. So I work with organizations to kind of help them basically treat people more equally, to create organizations that are more inclusive. And I work with a lot of businesses, and I work with a lot of schools. So I'm the creator of an innovation called Don't Guess My Race, which I'm going to talk to you about today. That's a program that we have versions that are used for adults in organizations like businesses, nonprofits, government organizations, and we have versions that are used in schools. So basically we made this program with the understanding that there's a problem, right? There's all kinds of things going on in the world today. Things related to violence, to hatred, to inequality, to, I'm getting distracted by we're here live at a high school where kids are doing this program. I'm hearing them doing it. I'm getting distracted. But so the program itself is created because of a problem. That there's all kinds of things going on in the world today with hatred, violence, war, inequality, implicit bias, unconscious bias that affects all sorts of things. So we have all these problems in the world today, and we're really lacking in the tools necessary to think critically about what's going on. Okay. Now with children, this is especially true because we often don't talk about issues related to race and other categories of identity with children and youth. It's sort of like this taboo subject. There's a lot of people thinking if we don't talk about it, they'll just grow up to be colorblind, and that's what we want anyways, so let's not talk about this issue. Let's not emphasize race for them. That's not the way it works, unfortunately, okay? Not talking about this does not make it better. In fact, it makes it a whole lot worse, because then children and youth actually learn about these things from subtle, more problematic messages in the world around them in the United States. So that's why we created this program, to find a way. Okay, obviously there's been a lot written about this subject. We could ask high school kids to read, stacks of books that talk about how identity works and how people make assumptions about other people and how that culture plays into inequality and how structural racism works. We could ask them to read books on all that, but they don't have time to do that. And it's not always especially engaging for young people. So we created a program that tries to actually take lessons from gamification and social science and make an engaging way for kids and youth to learn about these issues if maybe they only have a half an hour to do it, right? So I'm here in a U.S. history class in a high school in Maryland, and people are doing this program. They've done it for a couple of years now, and they're doing the program, and they're going to learn about race, ethnicity, other categories of identity in just a half an hour. It's a U.S. history class, so they don't have time to take out of the curriculum that they have to do, but this is going to give them some inspiration to learn about these issues, to understand that there's a science behind these issues. It's not just people having opinions. You have an opinion, I have an opinion. It's not that. There's actually people doing research. There's facts. There are things we know. So they're going to get that. They're going to get inspired to learn more, hopefully. And they are going to develop some real critical thinking skills to be able to think about things that happen in their daily lives, things they read about in the news, things they experience in the world. So I thought we could walk around and kind of see what's going on, if some people are actually doing it. Can I see what you all are doing? All right, so can you talk me through it? What's been going on?
So we have to see a picture of a person, and then we have to choose what race we think they are.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what have you noticed so far?
It's kind of complicated because some people don't really look like their race. Like you would think maybe a person is black, but they're actually mixed. Or
Yeah. So the first thing that happens when people do this program, they see one of these pictures. These are photographs. Let's see if it's actually getting on there. But these are photographs that were taken by Ruthie Brownfield, an amazing photographer. We went around to different spots in the country, and she took these photographs, and then I asked people, the first question I asked them was, how do you think about your own race? What race are you? And they could answer however they wanted. And then when you're doing the program, you have to, I kind of mess with the categories a little bit, as you can see, right? They're not your everyday categories, and that's to put people in a learning mindset rather than a defensive one. So a lot of times when we talk about race, when we talk about ethnicity, when we talk about racism, people get really defensive. And the idea behind messing with these categories is to make it so it's actually pretty hard to get defensive, because you start having questions and you want to learn more. So what happens when you click one of these? Take a guess here.
so we're choosing black,
Okay.
and either it tells you you're right, and it tells you what the guy said about himself, or it tells you you're wrong, and then it tells you what he said about himself.
Yeah, so can you read that quote from him? This is a quote that came out during our interview.
Stop stereotyping. The stereotype is that blacks are violent. I don't fit in. I'm very non-violent.
Right, so you get to read a quote from something that came out during an interview that I did with this person, and you get to learn a little bit more about his identity, his experience. What do you think about that?
It makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, okay, so what happens when you click next? Can you read that one?
Yeah, you can read that.
It's long.
Legal scholars Ian Ayres and Jonathan Borowski report on a study of over 700,000 police pedestrians and motor vehicle stops from 2003 to 2004. They found that blacks and Latinos were much more likely than whites to be stopped, searched, and arrested. However, during these searches, blacks and Latinos were much less likely to actually be in possession of drugs, weapon, or other contraband. The 2015 Department of Justice report on the Ferguson MO Police Department found the same pattern.
Yeah, so you get what that's saying, right? That they did this study. This is what is critical, is that it's not just like people talking about what should be done. They actually did a study to see what's going on, and they found that that people of color are getting stopped much more than white people, right? Getting stopped and searched. Over 700,000 stops that they studied. They found they're getting stopped and searched much more often, but they're having much fewer problematic things on them, drugs, weapons, or other contraband, right? So sometimes people say, well, when police are racial profiling, it's just because that's the way the world is. They're just doing their job better. What studies like this are showing is that the bias that they think people of color have more bad stuff is actually getting in the way of them doing their job. They're actually doing their job worse if they're affected by these biases. So it's that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that I really want people to understand by doing this program, right? All right, cool. Thank you. I'm going to walk around some more. All right, what do y'all see over here?
Well, I see that he is Nigerian and Scottish. Oh, I'm right.
So what have you found? So what does he say?
I get asked what I am often because I'm told I look racially ambiguous at times. I don't fit the black stereotypes in that I don't associate myself with urban culture, ebonics, or fried chicken, being vegan.
Right. So what are some of the things you noticed as you go through this so far?
I'm really surprised by these answers sometimes. They're
Why?
like,
What's surprising?
It would be the complete opposite of what I would put. So like,
yeah, tell me more. Why is that?
Because it's really what the person thinks of themselves. Like at first I thought someone was white, but then it was wrong because he thinks he's Caucasian. So yeah.
Yep. So what happens when you click next? Have you been reading the little social science tidbits?
Yeah. It talks about, it basically gives like a little summary of what the person talks about.
Yep, and tries to relate it to some real research that's out there. So this one is talking about exactly what you're talking about, that cultural markers of race aren't so clear. You think it's one thing, but it's actually a different thing. And this is talking about how he says he's mixed race, Nigerian and Scottish, right? And if you ask geneticists about racial ancestry, you actually see that a lot more people are mixed than think they're mixed, right? That genetically we're kind of all mixed up, basically, is what this is saying. That there are as many white people with slave ancestry in the U.S. as there are black people with slave ancestry. So it's trying to kind of make you think about that stuff a little bit as you go through. Thank you. All right. Are y'all the ones laughing over here?
Well, look at me.
Y'all are looking good.
I look tough.
So what do you notice as you go through this? What have you been seeing?
I've guessed them pretty good.
Yeah? You're guessing pretty good?
Yeah. I mean, educational guesses. There's a difference.
Yeah. You're not guessing that good? It's kind of designed so that you get a lot of them wrong. Most people get about, I'd say 30%, right? And why do you think it's like that? Why do you think I tried to make it hard?
I don't know, just to show us like that everyone's different.
Yeah, to make people, you know what happens when you ask people before they do this, if they can guess people's race just by looking at them, is they say yeah. And if you ask them after this, they say no. It's actually a lot more complicated than that. Alright, so what do you think for this one?
I don't know. No idea.
No idea?
Dominican?
Alright. So what does it say? Can you read that quote for us? I don't know if it's going to show up.
Read it, Angie. You read it.
I'll read it. People don't know I'm black. They ask me if I'm black or Middle Eastern or Hispanic. Being black is a different experience. You have a support group with people in your own race. I don't fit the stereotype in many ways. People don't think black people can be smart or do classical dance or speak more than one language.
Yep. So what do you think about that, hearing that? What does that make you think about? Do you feel like people ever make assumptions about you based on how you look or how you talk or how you act?
People judge too quick.
Yeah,
before getting to know your background and everything.
yeah, definitely. And that's the whole idea about this, is that you don't know people before you actually know them, before you know their story. Yeah, good, thank you. All right, what are y'all thinking over here?
I don't have anything.
I mean, it's really surprising, I guess.
How so?
We assume a lot of things, but we don't really know much until we actually interact with them and talk to them and see what they say about it.
Yeah, good, absolutely. Were there any things that were especially surprising to you?
Yeah, a few.
Like what?
Sophia, would you like to share? Katie.
All right, you don't have to.
I look like a guy right now.
All right, so this is basically the way it works. People are going through, they're seeing pictures of all these diversity of people.
So
what are y'all thinking?
grandparents were Eastern European Jews. So she was white.
Anything surprising? Anything
And
you didn't expect?
Yeah, some Hispanic people don't look like they're Hispanic. Like there's this guy who's Middle Eastern, from Honduras. That surprised me because I'm Hispanic myself, and I don't see people with that look like him, with the eyes and everything. So, yeah, that surprised me.
Yep, good. You been reading the little tidbits about social science?
Yes.
Yeah? Cool.
But what about a person who is born in Spain,
Let's
speaks Spanish? Do they Are they Hispanic? And they come to America. Are they Hispanic? Or are they white?
It's kind of hard to tell. I don't know. Because like you would just assume that they're Hispanic because of how they talk, but
Right.
at the same time, like I think people from Spain have an accent, a different accent.
Right. But what about their skin tone? What would their skin tone be? They're European.
There's the teacher, Dan Ring. And you can ask him a question or two as well.
99.9% what's called Ashkenazi Jewish, so that's kind of
Hey Dan, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure, yeah, of course.
All right. So can you tell everybody, how you've used this program before and what you found kids get out of it?
So I actually found it online. I was just doing some searching a couple years ago, and I connected with Michael, and I asked him, hey, can we use this in my classroom? And he gave us free access to it. And so we used it, and the kids have really got a lot out of it. It's really helped me develop how I discuss race in the classroom and how we talk about, because in American history, you can't talk about American history without talking about race. So we use it to talk about westward expansion and Native Americans. We use it to talk about slavery and African Americans and Reconstruction and Jim Crow and all that stuff. So it's a great jumping off point to say that. And also in High Point High School is one of the most diverse schools in the state of Maryland. So we have kids from all different backgrounds, all different languages, and it really offers us a good jumping off point to talk about what race looks like in the classroom and how people's assumptions don't always line up with who they actually are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you. That's perfect.
Good.
This is so exciting for me to be here and actually see the program being used live in person. I don't always get to do that because it is a digital program. That's the beauty of it, is it can happen anywhere around the country, anywhere around the world. So being able to actually be here and see this live is really cool. And I'm excited to share this with you, with the HundrED community, so that you can see how this works. You can see some of the exciting things that are happening around this issue. I'm passionate about these issues, and this is one tool, one digital tool that we have created, along with digital producer Michael Handelman. This is one tool we've created together, but we have a lot of tools, and we're always creating more tools. And so I am just I'm excited about this work. I'm excited for the HundrED community to know about this work, to think together about how we can continue to advance this work, looking at identity, inequality, and inclusion in schools and in organizations and in society at large. So thanks for being here and for sharing this with me. If you have any questions or want to follow what we're doing, please reach out. You can find me at Twitter, Michael D. Baran. You can find my LinkedIn at Michael Baran, B-A-R-A-N. That's it. So thank you once again for being here, and please let me know if this sparks some interest for you, if this is something that you think you could use, or if you have other tools or other ideas on how we can continue to make this better. So thank you so much. This was really wonderful, and thank you to the HundrED organization for supporting this kind of work and for bringing innovators together to really think about complicated and important issues like this in the world today. So thank you so much. Take care, everyone.